This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to beautiful over misty here at Djuma Private Game Reserve. And indeed, it is actually misty, as you can see. Even that grey heron is trying to make its way around the watering hole this morning just to see how it's going to work out on its early breakfast. So everybody jump aboard to your very own live safari through the African wilderness. Good morning, everybody. Again, welcome to Djuma, misty of Djuma this morning. As you can see, we're sitting here at the Gari Dam looking at these grey heron, where it's trying to actually forage around the edge of the water, hoping for the early breakfast, but it can be maybe not easy yet. You can see all of the misty that we got, and this is actually how we're going to be working around this morning. So my name is Andrew, and I have a BK on camera this morning. So this is the plan, to come to this area to look around for anything we're going to find. Whether it was a lions that has been around, we believe they may still around in the area. And now Chris will be actually checking on the other side. I'm going to be actually hoping to find if there is a leopard around here. So remember, everybody, as we forage this misty of the morning, everybody, we would love to hear from you. All the questions and comments that you've been sending through to us, we're all enjoying them, answering them. So if you could do that again by using hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, and also at FC on YouTube. But you can also, if you're under the age of 18, you can pop us an emails on kids questions at wildearth.tv. As well as if you go register on the website, WildEarth website, and you head over to the live safari page, then there you can able to submit your question. We would love to hear from you, everybody. So we're gonna have to make space here, the car that's coming right behind us. So myself, I'll be working around hoping to find maybe leopard. As a Chris, he's gonna be also checking around, hoping to find some lions. I may actually hop up into cheetah if it's possible. But again, pride lands, they may be mobile about just to see how they're gonna find this animal. So it's just gonna be three of a lookout for the animal this morning. We got a hippo in this watering hole. It's just amazing that we just came and begin here. We didn't even notice that the hippo was still holding their breath. Where they can do that sometimes, they can hold their breath for 5 minutes. Sometimes. And that could be the same hippo that always been around here. Sometimes Bevlusuk Dam, Treehouse Dam. So this is the one I always say that he actually rotates around here because he has free access to those watering hole. So everybody, let's find out how Thereon, you're saying it's another day of misty in Sabi Sands. Yes, you're very right. It's actually very misty. So what I'm going to do now, as you can see, we can't see 200 yards, 300 yards. So all we do, I'm going to take a look at tracks of these animals, especially leopards that we will be looking for. Cat species, there's nothing wrong about the weather for them. They would find access through this weather because they benefit from that. So, and then the prey species, it may be a little bit difficult for them to run around because everywhere they go behind a thicket could be somebody hiding for them as a target. That's how they also, these carnivore species such as the lions, the leopard, so they hunt also by an experience. And that's why when it's rained, wind, I don't actually waste a lot of energy. Because they walk straight to the prey species. Once they can downwind that prey species, and then they just walk straight into it. Because there's not much of a sound that the prey species may hear from them. So it looks like it's... So I'm going to keep following. Looks like I just pick up the leopard track here. I'm going to keep following that. So everybody, let's take a look at the weather on our various locations.
Welcome everybody to a misty morning here in the Sabi Sand Game Reserve at Djuma. This could be challenging weather to look for animals, yet I'm quite excited for you to join me on this adventure. My name is Chris. I'll be looking for some lions today. Now, earlier this morning we had audio of lions vocalizing quite close to camp. And knowing lions, when they vocalize like that, they could move quite quickly. So currently we are just moving around and we are just parked here, just trying to listen if we could hear any audio. And on camera ops today, we've got Darren, who will hopefully be able to get that once-in-a-lifetime view of anything that we should find. Now, just to broaden our plan a little bit, we do not have any tracks as it is. It's merely audio, and with a misty morning like this, it could be quite tricky to pinpoint the location from where the audio would come from. We often find in weather like this that lions would vocalize more often than usual, since with misty weather like this, the air or the medium in the air in terms of moisture is denser. Thus, it would carry the sound of a lion's roar quite further than it normally would on a dry or sunny morning. So that would be our plan. We're going to continue driving, and every 5 or so minutes we'll stop and just listen for about 2 or 3 minutes in order to hopefully, again, pick up on some audio of lions. Yes, Leo, that is 100% correct. In weather like this, it benefits the predator more than prey. Well, the first thing is the visibility is lower, and we know that the predator's eyesight is phenomenal, much better than that of the antelope. Not that the antelope have bad eyesight, it's just that cats in particular have phenomenal eyesight. It's arguably one of their strongest senses. And there's very little wind, which then in turn benefits the antelope more. But overall, this is perfect weather. It's cooler, lower visibility, which is perfect conditions indeed. So we're going to be just slowly but surely moving on, and hopefully stop in another 5 minutes or so in order to just listen out again for some audio of lions. In the meantime, I'm going to continue, and we'll be looking for some tracks as well, bearing in mind there was also that herd of buffalo around in the region yesterday, and I'm hoping that any group of lions that would have either smelled them or came across their scent or even heard them would try and follow them. And having said that it's good conditions for hunting, with the overcast conditions, it does make tracking a little bit more difficult since you've got no sunlight to illuminate any tracks. However, that's where we rely on experience in order to assist us there. Such an eerie feeling. It's kind of like surreal having this mist. All depending on what this weather system is about. It doesn't look like it's substantial fog. In my opinion, it should disappear within the next hour. And it just shows you your plans can change instantly out here in the bush. They seem very calm. Often even predator has moved, especially with giraffe. If lions have moved around in the immediate vicinity, one would clearly notice that they are much more alert and much less calm. And we can see that this journey of giraffe is as calm as you could get. Well, we'll just stay with this giraffe, or this journey of giraffe, just for a couple of minutes, and that will also give us the opportunity to listen out for any lion audio.
So we are still mobile around here, checking. There's actually a leopard track that looks like it was last night that walk on the eastern side of the Kalahari Dam, and then it's so two other vehicles checking on the other side. So I'm checking some roads here because it doesn't seem to be fresh. It could be that maybe that leopard had walked long distances last night, or it could be maybe he just lay down somewhere around. whether there is a kill around. So we won't know until we know. We'll find it. So all we're checking possibly for tracks just to see where the track headed to. And I do a bit of off-road here because the guy said the track's still coming further down where we are, so just to check off-road a little bit, just to see what's happening along this drainage line system. Perhaps we'll get lucky with him still lying down somewhere in these tall grasses.
Good morning and welcome to WildEarth. We're live on Bushwalk at Eco Training Pridelands. Moment for weather is quite overcast and cool, and it's only 10 degrees Celsius. And we're waiting for the cloud cover to start lifting before we start walking. We're also staring into the horizon to see what else we can go and find. We're hearing also some impalas that were alarm calling earlier in the distance. So my name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we've got Gerrit. Our plan for this morning is to follow up in one of the drainage lines, and we would like to see if we can actually find some elephant. At first we thought that we weren't going to have any sunrise this morning, and it just seems to have popped through the clouds on the horizon. Let's sit and just enjoy that sunrise for a little bit before we move off. Good morning and welcome to the show, and you're 100% right. It's such a beautiful scene. Every day in the bush is a different scene, and each of it has its own unique beauty. That's one of the things I just love being out here. And I also love to see how the seasons change, and even with daily and different weather conditions, how the environment changes. We're going to start making our way off and go and see what we can go and find on foot. But let's go and see what Chris and his giraffes are up to.
Well, it seems like JP is going to move off to see what he can find. And in the meantime, we are observing this journey of giraffe just slowly moving out into the bush. Now, since we are on a mission to look for lions, giraffe is also one of the high-profile species that lions would target. Now, it can be somewhat dangerous for lions to target giraffe, and those of you who've ever witnessed lions hunting giraffe would know that And if you can just look at this difference in size, those hind legs of giraffe are just serious weaponry. And I've witnessed lions mortally injured by giraffe that virtually kicked them to death. So it's a high risk, high reward prey animal for lions. However, when they do manage to bring down giraffe, and you're having a 1-ton animal that could feed a pride for a couple of days. You see, that's the thing with this mist, is that visibility is lower, arguably about 50 to 80 meters, and anything beyond that, even in an open savanna area, you will find it quite difficult to spot animals even any further than that. So what we're going to do, we are going to continue slowly. We did not hear any lions, and as we are driving, help us find anything. And then I also want to ask, I did mention we are looking for lions, and that will, for the foreseeable portion of this drive, be our mission. But please let us know if I can find anything else for you. In the meantime, as we're trying to get to another portion of Djuma to locate lions, we're gonna have an awesome expedition ready for you.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more. Bookings open on Sunday the 22nd of August, straight after the Sunset Safari.
So everybody, we're still searching around. Actually, we're in a dip down to the drainage line here, but also I'm hoping that everybody is all excited about this expedition in the Mara. So remember everybody, so the time it's 6:30 p.m. after the sunset drive. So the booking will be open from there. So it'll be really great. Really, it's going to be really amazing to be in such a kind of places like that. They see all of these wild animals marching across BK, that Mile River. It's one of the places that I'm also dying to visit and see, especially this time of year. Where a lot of wildebeest, they make their way into that area. So that's not happening all year round. It's a certain month of the year, which is now, this month, upward. And I'm not actually getting a luck here. I try my best, because I know leopards, when they don't come visible, is that they in the drainage line system. And we believe that either shasha that will be around, or other leopard but was a leopard around here, or more than one leopard. So the teams are also helping on the far side. I haven't gotten a luck yet. That's why I actually spend a lot of time driving through these, just to make sure we don't miss that leopard wherever he is. And then none of the lions have actually found yet, so everybody is still trekking around here. So the reason I drive the drainage line is because we have water hole there. If it happens that leopard had a kill, there's only water hole to drink, and then it doesn't matter how far the kill is. When they're in need for water, they can make their way from wherever they are to reach that area for water. So only taking time here. Some leopards, the one horse they kill, just like tortoise pen, what you see in there yesterday, he done great doing that, saving his kill up in a tree, where many of them, they would prefer feeding on the ground, which is actually far comfortable for many of the leopards when they feed from the ground. But so many times they also lost their kill due to the hyena stealing it. So everybody, I'm still driving the drainage line. We may actually have to go somewhere else to check if we don't get lucky around here.
As we celebrate Women's Month in South Africa, we acknowledge and thank those women committed to conservation, working tirelessly both on the front lines and behind the scenes. The Endangered Wildlife Trust is proud of the women who dedicate their lives to fighting to save species, conserve habitats, and benefit people. Here's to strong women everywhere who are dedicated to protecting forever together.
I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kudu, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Sean probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene, rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Delivering 6 hours of HD wildlife content live every day is no small feat. It's a massive team effort, and we all rely on one another. Cam Ops have a bit of work to do in the morning. Up nice and early, get all the checks out of the way, and make sure we're ready to go live. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun.
Good news. I've been listening out, and we did hear some lines to the far northern areas, probably around Ahina Road, and we are en route to find them. So we are heading to that area, and that also sounded like there might have been some buffalo as well. Now remember, yesterday I was tracking that massive herd of buffalo and we did not locate them. However, I'm hoping that we can set this up. So we will slowly continue. It's generally in this area. We are on the northern firebreak, and in the meantime we're gonna head back to Andrew in his search for animals in order for us to just get to the area where we want to be. And we'll be back soon, hopefully.
Chris, good luck. So, and then yeah, we're still there searching around here, and then we got another track actually moving along the drainage line, inside the drainage line. It's quite not actually easy access to drive through, but we're trying our best. So we're probably gonna make sure we don't lose that tracks, because if we lose it, we may not find that leopard. And remember, this is still last night track, so we have it leading into. We want to find out where it ends, so that we know what's going on there. It's not actually quite easy access, so very erosion here due to these rain we had last year. Lisa, you're asking what are the messages? Give it to me to track the animals. So tracking, it's one of the things that you will have to develop before you become a guide. You gotta start it from there. Many they don't actually track, and they just come to a guiding before tracking, but in the meantime they have to work on how they're gonna gain the skill of a tracking, which is tracking is actually a key in this industry. So seeing the tracks for the animal that you're looking for, that's what gives you a lot of comfortable. As long as the tracks, it's last night, or there hasn't been any cats in that area the day before. This is what sometimes gives you a lot of a comfortable that it maybe has to be any animals in the area, or that a leopard. Usually they would move, but maybe they won't move far, depending on what they do. If they would just carry on exercise their scent marking and things like that, and then of course they would push far, because it's not all about hunting now, it's all the businesses of defending their territory. So yeah, what has actually pushed so much on trekking and enjoying it is that every time you see a tracks and you understand them, what are they and how long are these tracks, and that's actually makes me enjoy so much of the trekking, because every time I see a tracks that I'm going to follow, I don't go wrong, so I always name the tracks, and it is. Just like right now, we're following on the, looks like a male leopard that has been to the area last night. I think also it's quite misty, so when we're trying to look carefully, because could it happen that we drive past that leopard, if it's in tall grasses. And this grass is pretty much like their color, so they could be actually well blend in. So I can't cross over there. It's a lot of erosion due to the rains flooding there in that river. So I'm gonna check another access point there that tracks if maybe it does come out further south from there. So you're asking how long do the tracks last for on the ground? Depend on the weather. If it rains, it won't last because, of course, it would be washed off. And then we had a misty here. That would even sometimes be difficult for us because the misty dropped to the ground, which means then evidence of all details gone far too difficult. And then tracks may look older even it's 2 hours ago. And then so if nothing disturbs the tracks in terms of all windy in the day or any of a drizzling, then the track may last for possibly 3 days still visible on the ground. But also, and that's how we first check how old are the tracks, 2 days or a day, before you can follow that. You don't want to follow the track that are 4 days ago. You gotta have to think about the weather, what it has been like for the past 3 days, and of course you will find your answer there just by checking those kind of weather situations when you're trekking. If it has been windy, you may follow the track which are 2 days old or day old. But if you following on the lines, so 1 day's old the tracks, because sometimes since they're cooperative hunter, is that they may sometimes not far away where you just saw the tracks have went and maybe succeed in killing maybe a big prey species, which this is when they would spend more of hours there, which means days old the tracks of a lion's pride. Still worth it to check them. Everybody, I'm gonna search around here. This is an axis where we can able to check whether these tracks have come further south in this area. In the meantime, let's go across the crease to give everybody an update about the lions and the buffalo is trekking out there.
I cannot believe our luck. The Tswalu Pride, they're right here with a huge herd of buffalo. And there's definitely something happening here. There's definitely something happening. Whoa, look at that. What a standoff between two of Africa's most iconic large animals. Just gonna sit here and see this unfold. Cool. That's just a game of wits here. It's going to be give and take. Look, 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 look. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Wow. We're gonna have to reposition. Darren also reckons we should move a little bit backwards. What do you reckon? Wow. And this is not over yet. Now what's going to happen here is, I mentioned it's a game of wits. Now, the lion's going to keep trying to push the buffaloes, and you could clearly see some of the bigger, older buffalo bulls has just positioned themselves between the rest of the herd and the pride. And it's going to be a matter of who gives first. If the lions can unnerve the buffalo enough and they run, that will give them the opportunity to potentially get hold of one. It might be the lions who loses their nerve and the buffalo who then in turn chases them. Am I cool there? Sorry. It's just that that stare of a buffalo bull. It's almost like you owe them money. As I mentioned, it's just incredible, the stare of a buffalo bull. It's like you owe them something, you owe them money. It's an animal that I've got the greatest respect for. People always mention somebody who's brave, who's got the heart of a lion. I reckon it should be the heart of a buffalo. They just don't budge. Jocelyn, that would be incredible if that can happen. Well, one of two things are going to happen, or it could be a couple of outcomes here. And this is a standoff. This can last a few minutes up to a couple of hours. Now, what the lions would be looking for is younger buffalo, or perhaps one of the older ones that are sick or injured. And the problem the lions are going to have is that these very mature, very old bulls have positioned themselves almost like guards between the lions and the rest of the group. Buffaloes are notoriously difficult to bring down, even for a pride of lions. And I have seen many lions meet their fate at the hand of buffalo. again, it's about who's going to lose their nerve the quickest. If the lions run and lose their nerve and they don't stand their ground, these old buffalo bulls will literally chase them, and the entire herd could potentially follow. If the buffalo don't stand their ground and they run, they then open up the window for the lions to engage and create enough confusion in order to hopefully separate either a younger one or a very old or sick one. I have seen very healthy buffalo being taken down by lion, but they'll generally attempt to isolate one of the older ones. Just look at that stare. That's just intimidating. A couple of the pride members have just moved off, although there is another young male still very close to the leading buffalo bull in the front. So we'll just stay intact and observe this spectacle unfold. Good morning, Nebula. You have it spot on. This is a very, very large group of buffalo or herd, and as I approached the lions, it was probably, I would judge, it's in excess of about 200-300 buffalo. So yes, the lions will definitely be at a disadvantage, more so than the buffalo. It's not to say that the lions don't have any chance of being successful, but with the quantities of buffalo around in this particular herd, the lions definitely do not hold the trump card. They definitely do not have the advantage. Although, again, if they can create enough confusion and the buffalo decide to run away, that could just be that little window they look for. I've not yet seen any large males or male with this particular pride at the moment, and having a large adult male present would definitely swing a little bit of favor into the lion's side. I am going to go a little bit forward. There is still one young male quite close to these lions, unless I somehow missed him standing up.
I think he went down.
Yeah, might be sleeping. Darren, who's obviously a little bit higher perched than myself, mentioned that he did see him lie down there. Hi, Janet. Good question. And earlier this morning we did mention that visibility is an issue with this misty weather. So yes, that could very well be the Lions' game plan. We did see them move off a little bit, and that is an incredible observation. And if we are in luck, that might just be the Lions' strategy. I've also seen that a process like this could take up to a day or two. The lions need to be firstly very skilled at hunting buffalo. Not every lion pride are specialists in buffalo. And every lion pride have different strategies. And like today, if they experience, they would in all likeliness then change their strategy. Another possible outcome could be that they realized that, firstly, terrain conditions and the size of this buffalo herd doesn't warrant an attempt. So they also have to weigh up risk versus reward. Now, if they can take down a fully grown buffalo, that is enough food for this pride for quite some time. Bear in mind, predators like lions will always try and expend the least amount of energy Good morning, Nolene. I am not entirely sure. We do know that this is some members of the Talamati pride. I have not seen all the members from where I was positioned. And they've spread out quite a bit, so I cannot say exactly how many lions are here. But I'm hoping that this will reveal itself a little later.
I've lost visuals.
And we've just lost visual of the buffalo. We're going to just reposition. And just see, the buffalo seems quite content at the moment. And we have visual of them moving off. They will not disappear. In the meantime, I just want to quickly observe this little patch of grass for that young male lion that was lying down there. And he might also have used the mist to try and sneak away from us. I think he's either moved away when we missed him. Did you see him? Okay, so Darren has confirmed. While I was looking at the buffalo, a young male definitely stood up and moved. The buffalo is crossing southwards into Djuma. This is right on our boundary. And I'm just going to stick with the buffalo for now. We do have other safari vehicles that is with the pride, and we are in contact with each other. So we will definitely know if the lions are moving back towards the buffalo. And as soon as they get closer to the buffalo again, we will definitely move towards them. There's just this beautiful scene here with this buffalo crossing, and I just want to give you an idea of the size of this herd. Now, quite a number of them has already crossed over, so I'm just going to stop here and let's just watch them cross the road. And they just keep coming. So just to remind again, we are just staying with the buff for a moment. We just staying with them for now. We know the lions are just a little bit further off, a couple of 100 yards, so we will return to them. Just so lucky with this. This is not something witnessed every day, since these very large herds of buffalo are not always around. They cover quite large distances in search of food and water, and there's no particular pattern as to how they move around. Now, as they move out into Djuma, we will stay with them, and we're going to alternate between them and the lions depending on the distance between them. And we will be back shortly. We will stay with them.
Calling all Wild Earth explorers, we have a new and frankly awesome travel prize for you to win. andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve encompasses an impressive 28,000 hectares of protected wildlife land in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. As you have seen on WildEarth, andBeyond Phinda showcases one of the continent's finest game viewing experiences and is well known for close-up sightings of the elegant yet elusive cheetah, as well as the rare black rhino. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the 16th of September, and you and a friend could be heading to the magnificent Phinda Mountain Lodge, where you will spend 3 nights escaping the real world at this ultimate safari location. Wild Earth explorers, it's in your nature.
We're here at the Advanced Rifle Handling Challenge, which is actually lots of challenges in one to gauge the contestants' skills at different distances and different speeds. This is probably the challenge that the contestants are the most nervous about. So let's get them locked and loaded. Competitors are now doing the Hales halt, where they have to run back and forth to a target, turn, take aim, and shoot. And this simulates a chase in a real environment and gets the heart pumping and the blood pressure up. James gave us a demonstration, and the skill involved in this exercise is remarkable.
This is a battle of 2 great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Sorry, we still got us here. Sorry about that, the pride lane. And then, so we're checking, since I mentioned that I'm going to be checking on the western bank, and we're still checking here. You know, but these leopards, they are different than the lions, so they move differently than the lions do. The lions will be in a pride where we expect to see not only one track when you track them. So now we're tracking on the one individual male track, so once we lost it, it hasn't been anywhere around in this crossing. The track doesn't come out, so what we do, we're going to change the plan, maybe work a little bit further away from this drainage line system. It happens that leopard has maybe a long time ago gone out of that area, so we know. So for now I'm going to be checking further away from that drainage line system. Could be that because of also misty. Could happen that it just drove past that leopard without seeing it also. So yeah, the mist is getting heavy. Perhaps it's not that, maybe it's not quiet. It's because of that we cannot maybe see far away enough. Those many animals that we keep seeing along the road as we drive, usually when it's in an open sky. Won't see them if they happen that they 100 yards, and then of course we won't see them. So every now and then we have to wipe the lens there, because when you drive, you know, all mist cover the lens. Very interesting. I'm not sure what happened to the tortoise pen male. Since he was at that a little of a kill of his there, nobody checked there. Perhaps later on we're going to check that area. So everybody, I'm going to be sending you across the crease with these buffalo there.
We are still with this herd of buffalo, and I know I initially mentioned that I think it's about perhaps around 200. Having observed them now, I think the size of this herd is possibly closer to about 500, which makes it one of the larger groups I've ever witnessed. And the Lowveld is known for some very large herds of buffalo. Just an update on what's happened with the lions. That last little scene that we witnessed when they started to move off, it appears now that they've lost interest in this group of buffalo for now. Now, in my experience, I know they might re-engage at a later stage, possibly during the night or later in the day. And we do have other vehicles with them at the moment. They've just gone into quite a difficult area to get into, so the other vehicles are just observing them from a distance, and they will inform us exactly what's going to happen there. Once they're in an area where we can engage again, we would certainly go back. In the meantime, we're just going to continue with this buffalo. It's not every day that such large groups of buffalo will enter the area, and they're not always around. We know the lions are back there, and we will definitely return should they remain in an area that we can access. We're just going to move a bit forward. The buffalo have calmed down quite substantially, and what I'm going to try and do is get right into the herd without spooking them. And if I can manage that, you will join me on an unforgettable experience with buffalo. We'll just need to do it rather slow, because buffalo is, generally speaking, in this area fairly used to cars and horse safari vehicles, and they generally don't run. But as it goes with any particular species, or if you just barge in there with your vehicle, you could come forth as aggressive, and they might see that and they will run away. Now, we often get asked, do animals not run away? Well, while we're with the buffalo, just let us have a look at the expedition that is coming.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more. Bookings open on Sunday, the 22nd of August, straight after the Sunset Safari.
Welcome back to Bushwalk. I hope you enjoyed the expedition clip on the Mara. And that from this evening, bookings will go open after the evening show at roughly 6:30 South African time. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go and see the largest migration of mammals in the world. I personally would love to go and see the migration myself. You also have the opportunity to go and see Maasai giraffe, but in the meanwhile, we've got southern giraffe right over here. And a subspecies that we see is known as southern African giraffe. So there's approximately 4 different species of giraffe worldwide in Africa, depending on whose taxonomical research you follow. So each of them has got their unique own coat patterns by which you can identify them. So these large coat pattern patches that you can see actually has the function of breaking up the shape of the animal, and you'll notice how difficult it is to actually spot them through the vegetation. But these also work as thermal windows on incredibly warm days that they can dump excessive heat that they've built up by feeding in the direct sun. Giraffe has a lot of time that they spend both in digesting their food as well as in terms of feeding. You might be noticing that some of them are busy feeding on the knob fawns, which is one of the reasons why there's so many of them in this area. And the knob fawns, the nectar has a lot of nutritional value for them. These trees also have a number of strategies that they will follow to prevent the giraffe actually from feeding on them. Some of those are mechanisms such as fawns, which are incredibly sharp. However, they've also learned to overcome this by having a very special saliva that just deflects a fawn off the tongue. They've also got long eyelashes and incredibly thick lips. They've also learned to actually deal with large amounts of tannin as well as other toxins, which they don't seem to hinder them in any way. And the flowers of knob fawn acacia has up to 3 times more tannin than the leaves. I find it particularly interesting as well that these trees will actually push up their tannin levels when they are fed on, and at the same time they will also warn other trees of the same species when being fed on. And in response to that, those trees will then also push up their tannin levels. I find it particularly fascinating that nature has learned to build in sustainable use mechanisms. Morning, Ornella. Welcome to the show. Colour can change quite drastically from location. In general, I find that animals in the eastern half of South Africa tend to be more darker in colour compared to those in the western half, which are generally lighter. And that's quite a broad generalisation in a number of different mammal species which occurs from east to west throughout southern Africa. But we also find that individuals can have variation in colour. And we find sometimes we can find incredibly dark females. However, the rule generally says that males tend to be darker than females. But we also find that individuals that are incredibly old tends to also be darker than younger individuals, for example. I've seen giraffe that is almost black in color, and that is due to a double recessive gene from both parents, and we call that melanism. In some species of animals, we also find incredibly light animals. I've almost seen a white giraffe in the past, and that is called leucism. There's another variation in color patterns which we find in a number of different animal species as well as birds, which is known as albinism. And the difference between leucism and albinism is with albinism, the eye and the skin color tends to be pinkish, where with leucism, the eye and skin color is still of a normal color. Just to come back to our giraffe, there's also a number of zebra. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get them in the screen that's busy feeding with them. Both of these species are incredibly tricky species to approach on foot. Not that they hold any form of danger really for us, but because they're incredibly alert about what's going on. Giraffe, as well as zebra, has got phenomenal eyesight. A third animal that I've never been able to trick when it comes to approaching is baboon. They've also got phenomenal eyesight. And over the years, we've learned if there's other species that we want to view that can potentially be dangerous to us or very easily startled, and they're in feeding in close association with these animals, we'd rather leave the approach. We're going to watch our giraffes a little bit longer. Let's go and see what the guys are up at.
Thank you very much. So everybody, we are trying to actually find what we could. But as you can see, misties are very strong here. Now we're sitting... Sorry, we're going to have to wipe that lens, but this is, now you can see Birchall Starling. It's actually nice and close into this misty. So I can promise you, everybody, it's very misty here, all the way we drive. So, and it comes very quiet outside, so I'd rather spend time with anything we could. It's going to be also harder for birds to get mobile about, active as normal with such a weather. But only when it's burned off, then they will be happy again. There it is there, still on the ground, trying their best to search for their food, but what's interesting about in kind of weather like this, so it's not such a wind, so it's still great though. But the mist is dropping heavily. So I'm going to carry on, search more. the lens again. So I'm gonna check the southern boundary towards the east there. So now I'm gonna go check on the southern boundary, but perhaps because we are close to where that Putoto's pen had his kill, maybe I'm gonna do a U-turn there just to see what it's like. Probably finished, but just gonna see what it's like, so then we know what's going on. We may wander around and he's still around in that area, but wasn't not much left there last night. So that's my plan. So I'm changing plan here because of the mist that is taking place, and we're gonna have to find anything, maybe elephants or so. Big animals like giraffe, they will be also visible if they're around. So everybody, let me try do that, then sit around. In the meantime, let's go across the crease with these buffalo.
Well, we've managed to get to the front of the herd, and the same that we had yesterday with those elephants. There's just something calming about a herd of buffalo that's totally calm and relaxed and just slowly grazing in a direction past your vehicle. And just to observe them. Total contrast to the action we had earlier. Buffalo standing off with lions and big old buffalo bulls trying to. And total contrast of what transpired earlier. Now the lions are still with the other safari vehicles who's trying to keep them for us. And at this stage, it sounds like they still have them. They are moving. They're still moving south. Somebody just got disciplined there. Now, buffaloes are what is referred to as bulk grazers, very much like cattle. In fact, one can very much look at buffalo as Africa's wild ox, or wild species of ox. They are relatives of cattle, much like several species of wild ox worldwide. Genetically not really close enough to hybridize, and not that in this region you'll always find them in the same area. And a bulk grazer means basically it would just feed on quantities of grass, and though at certain times of the year, particular over the types of species of grass it would prefer, it would just normally just move and now they graze, and they'll just continue grazing as they move along. I mean, you can also imagine if you in a group of 500 or so, you can't be too picky. You'll have to eat what's available. And we're going to just take a short break and send you over to JP, who's at Pridelands, while we stick with this group of buffalo to see where they're heading.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. I just find Chris's comment about buffalo and being bulk grazers very interesting. And one of the things that I do find particularly interesting is that their stomach is almost equal size to that of a giraffe. However, a giraffe, which is a selective browser, tends to have a way more effective method of actually digesting its food. And one of the things that I do find is that the inside of a stomach has got like finger-like protrusions, which actually increases the absorption area inside the stomach so that they can get all that nutrition out of the food that they're feeding on. It's also quite fascinating that the females and giraffes tend to actually be more picky about what they eat compared to the males. The females always need to be in an optimal condition that they can ovulate and can reproduce, as well as support a calf. While males tend to just feed anything that they want and in large numbers, and then simply move on. They don't really want to spend too much time when it comes to feeding when it's males, as they would rather spend the time following females, fighting with other males, gaining dominance, and then mating with the females that are in estrus. The one that we have over here is most likely female. We can see on top of those little horn-like structures, there's little paint-like brush-like tips. However, young males too have those. Generally, the females have got thinner necks, and they tend to be lighter in color. This one has been staring at us for quite a while and actually came a little bit closer. So with the wind that we've been experiencing this morning, which is making walking quite tricky, this has actually also sort of startled the giraffes, and they're becoming a little bit more nervous, and therefore they come and inspect what is the potential threats in the area. She's now, however, relaxed again and started feeding. I'm not sure if it's possible to see in the camera, but she's accompanied by a number of oxpeckers, one of them sitting right on top of her head now. It's trying to get into the ear quite often, and try and get ticks what's inside the ear. Not only do they remove the ticks from the animal, they also alert the giraffe of potential threats. However, giraffe in general are incredibly alert about what's going on due to their good eyesight. They can spot a predator up to some 2 kilometers away. That's how good their eyesight is. So we quite often find those little oxpeckers onto the hard-to-reach areas of where the giraffe can't get rid of the ticks itself. So they'll go for the ears, they'll go for the area directly underneath the tail, and in between the legs. It's quite often funny to watch giraffe when they do want to go for a toilet break and they lift their tail to defecate, how quickly those oxpeckers will rush to the area directly underneath the tail where a large amount of ticks are actually hiding. The oxpeckers also utilizes the hair of the giraffe. They'll often use it to line their nest and to insulate it to provide extra warmth. Good morning, Cora, and welcome to the show. In general, animals are incredibly alert when there's a lot of wind. I wouldn't always say mist, but when there's wind and the wind is swirling, it makes it difficult to hear potential threats. It also makes it incredibly difficult to smell a potential threat. And one of the behaviors that you see on windy days like today is that the animals will actually move into open plains areas where they've got a far greater ability to spot a threat that's trying to sneak up onto them. We also see this behavior with lions, where they will go and lie in the open on windy windy days so that they can see any other pride of lion that potentially could come into that area and might try and force them out of that area. A nice view on that oxpecker that's very close by to the top of the head, moving towards the ear. There's also a little fork-tailed drongo that is now associating with the giraffe. And what he's trying to do is just simply catching insects which has been disturbed by the giraffe as it's moving. For those of you who've never seen a giraffe's tongue, we're just going to try and see if it starts feeding again. It was showing so nicely a few seconds ago. That tongue is actually incredibly long and can be up to 45 centimeters in length. And as mentioned earlier, it's got a special covering of saliva that is so viscous that it just deflects the thorns off the tip of the tongue. There we go, it's starting to use the tongue again. I just find it amazing how it just wraps around leaves and around flowers and then just pulls it into the mouth. Oh, oxpecker is just directly underneath the eye now. It was annoying the giraffe there for a second, and then it repositioned. One of the funniest things I've actually ever seen with an oxpecker is when it was busy feeding on ticks on a rhino, and it actually went into the nose of a rhino, and it was busy picking, and the next moment it agitated the rhino, and it wanted to sneeze, and at the same moment it sucked in the oxpecker into the nostril and then sneezed it out. The poor little oxpecker hit the ground so hard that he bounced and then flew off.
RSA has a long history, over 90 years, of being involved and even pioneering aspects of the conservation sector in South Africa. Over that long history, we have realized that all of the issues that we are facing both locally and globally are due to human impact. Therefore, we need to concentrate on working with people, and that is what WESA does. What makes me passionate about the work that we do at WESA, and in particular the work that I engage in, is actually connecting with people. Currently the work that I'm working on is working with youth in a skills development program, and just to meet the youth and to hear their stories and to bring them opportunities that we hope will have some impact on their lives really fuels me to get up every morning. A huge shout out to the women that I work with, as well as to all the women that are contributing hugely within the environmental sector, both in South Africa and in the world.
We got there, he had probably moved a couple of 100 meters down the river and was about 10 meters from this causeway. So I radioed the lodge quickly and just asked them to bring a land cruiser around and some tow straps. So we thought we were going to try be heroes and save this giraffe. And now a big bull, probably over a ton, he's a big unit. Got the tow strap one side of the giraffe and managed to get it around him with the boat, and the other edge of the tow strap obviously back onto the bank. So we made this U around him because he was lying quite close to the bank. And yeah, we put that land cruiser in low range and we just gave it hell and pulled that giraffe, and the tow strap slipped up and we thought, oh no, it's going to slip off the top of it, and it caught on his ossicones at the top. And that last 10 meters pulled him out onto the bank, and he battled. He was obviously quite weak and all that.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb, because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with the cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops! Oof!
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
Welcome back, everybody. You're still with me with this herd of buffalo. We are right at the tail end of the group. We are trying to maneuver to get ahead of them. Now they've entered a slightly thicker wooded area, a combretum or bush willow woodland, which does make it a little more challenging than usual. So we're just going to watch them move off slightly, and we're going to figure out a plan on how to get ahead of them. And just an update, the lions are still moving further south. We will be returning to them at a later stage as soon as they enter an area that is accessible. They are apparently in also a very, very densely wooded area at the moment, which makes it tricky for vehicles to get in there. But there is a visual on them and we know where they are. And like I mentioned, we will be returning to them. I'm just going to try and reposition. And this might be tricky. You'll get a good idea of the type of terrain that they are moving into. Now, buffalo are equally at home in these woodlands compared to open plains, as long as there's grass. And as you can see out in this area, there's a substantial amount of grass cover here. So they're not moving very fast at the moment. Add food for them in this vicinity. And I can see a few of them coming. And I'll just need to figure out the best route through here without spooking them. They do seem fairly comfortable with our presence. And that's always, for me, the privilege of being able to do what I do, is to be able to get this close to them, observe them doing their natural behavior without impacting on their behavior or their normal order of life. And while I'm trying to reposition, we're going to be linking you back to Andrew to see what he's up to.
So we totally changed the plan. So now we have come to Chitwa. It's quiet, so we're gonna check what the dam could offer this morning. Could be nothing there drinking, but worth to check. Guys, worth to check. The guys say it's quiet also around here. But yeah, so we're gonna head down to the dam and see what is gonna be around the dam. No, we won't see much of the dam for sure. As you can see, everybody, it's a heavy mist this morning. So we may every now and then have to wipe the lens. We've actually been doing it. Just make sure that we still get going around here. So this is the road we're heading into. The dam is actually right there where you can see all of the misties. Just gonna find out what the hippo will be doing, but I will be in the water also. Hopefully this is gonna settle down, and this is when the sun is up. Maybe later on, but I believe this is gonna carry on for a little while though. So yeah, we came to the dam, everybody. So I'm gonna just make sure I got a place to stop, and then we have a look and listen to all of it. Probably a bird sound, and if it's the chance we see the hippos here. I'm hearing Egyptian geese, but maybe we cannot see them. So we came to the dam. This is what the dam looks like, everybody, this morning. Wipe the lens. Well, at least we got a sound of the Egyptian geese that are calling about. The hippos also, I can hear them. They are here. They have returned back into this water. Sorry everybody, we have to continuously wipe the lens. So with a weather like this, hippo they would love so much. When they want to, they may even come out of the water outside, because this weather for them feels like an evening weather where there is no sunshine. So what I will do, I'm going to take this silent moment here and listen to all of the various sounds. I wipe the lens again, everybody. So here we got a visual of a hippo. Still sticking its nostrils. Piece of a little bit of a head up out of the water a little bit. So much going on with these Egyptian geese wherever they are, because we don't see them fly across here, so they probably maybe cannot see also very well. They're only calling from one place, I guess. when this all the misty band off, the grass will remain with the moisture for a little bit. That's why many of the animals that are grazers, and they will love so much eating on grasses because it's wet. And the dry leaves which is already dropped, so it's really enjoying, loving it. It's actually very interesting misty, where we keep seeing this dam clearly. We almost see pretty much to the far end of it, but here today you only see just the beginning of the dam, and then there's just a little bit of this. It was sticking its little bit of its ear out. Second chance crossing. So you're saying, well, you never seen this dam so misty like this, and then truly looks like a very spooky. And then you're very right. I also never seen this dam being so like this. We actually have a lot of misty, I know for sure, but doesn't actually affect the visual of many of the waterhole. We've been seeing even Gary Dam, our dam back there. We can always see the end from the beginning, and then here what we see is just a little bit meters in, and you cannot even see the middle. So it's very interesting. We've still got a hippos here. So we're gonna stay put here, see what is gonna be happening.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. At the moment we're looking at a leopard orchid. No reason why it's called a leopard orchid. Just like a leopard, it grows up in a tree, but it also makes a beautiful yellow flower with little brown flecks, which resembles the patterns on a leopard's skin. However, there's no flowers on the orchid at the moment. I find this plant incredibly interesting. Unlike most plants that grow in the ground, which absorbs the nutrients from the soil, this one has specialized roots which are pointing upward. And those specialized roots is actually adapted to trap leaf litter between the roots, so that it can, as that decays, that nutrients and minerals can be absorbed into the roots. Their roots is also of such a nature that they can extract nutrients as well as moisture very rapidly before those valuable resources goes wasted. One of the interesting things about this plant is that the flowers and the plant is often used for an antidote in treating bad dreams. It's also been told to me that it's often been used for a love charm. So if there's somebody special in your life that you would like to fall in love with you can come and see a traditional healer that then will cast a spell by using parts of this plant on that person. Another species of orchid that I find quite fascinating is one that actually often grows on baboon's tail, which is also known as a black stick lily. and it mimics the flowers of the blackstick lily. However, they don't grow at the same time of the year.
So we're still sitting here at the dam, and all we're hoping is to actually maybe see an elephant when they're around about to come across. So I doubt they may drink because of the weather that's still not actually great for them, unless if they are thirsty very much. Of course they may drink, but if they're not thirsty, it would be great to see elephants in the mist. We just see how they look like in the mist. So the lions and all leopards, and they're still foraging in this weather. The grasses will actually be very wet. The leopards won't love being spending a lot of time walking in these very tall and wet grasses. They'll rather climb trees or be in the roads, though they still have to get mobile around. So August weather has been always cloudy most of the time. Probably if it's also September, it's going to be the same like this. It's perhaps a result in maybe that we may have an early shower this year. So roughly beginning of November or even before. Because then it's all the raining season begin. I actually had a Chris saying that he already saw the warbags, which is that could happen because they all follow aiming for it. That when they come down here, the only thing they do, they have to breed first. So they already come first. And they prepare their nest. And once that rain came down, so the first rain would bring everything back to normal. The clearing that you've been seeing about as we drive, seen through the bush, keeping up with the species of birds, with animals we follow through the bush, and you still keep up with them. You won't see many of that there. So looking through the bush, you only see just off the road, but you cannot see through much. Everything's going to be green. Grass is going to be tall. And the flower is all the frogs. So while we actually taking a look at this dam here, and then let's actually take a look at the expedition in the Mara.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more. Bookings open on Sunday the 22nd of August, straight after the Sunset Safari.
That would be an incredible expedition that's coming up in 2022. Locally, we are just now observing the tail end of this incredibly large herd of buffalo. Just had their morning drink here at Buffelshoek Dam. A very old male, big old fella that's just slowly trailing the herd. Now, it seems like they're now changing directions again towards where the lions were last seen, or actually where the lions were. It is about 1.5 kilometers from where we are now. So we will still keep following them, and if luck is on our side, we might even see some interaction between the two species again. So what we will do, the last couple of old males have just moved off. We're just going to literally trail them. We are in an area that's have been problematic for us with signal, so bear with us if we do lose signal. We will eventually regain it, and we will stay with this group for now. And we will be sending you over to Andrew again, just to enable us to stay with this group and not lose signal.
So we're still sitting here at the Chito Dam, but you see, it's getting better now that we can see at least to the far end of the dam. So truly that the whole mist, it's actually burning off. Such an amazing, it was so quick. I thought it was going to take another 2 hours to burn off, but because of the maybe heat that is coming through in. Perhaps it's going to be in an open sky. Kerry, you're asking what kind of animals that will be moving about in this kind of weather. The prey species, they would be still moving about, but they got to be moving carefully because they can't see well, but they're still going to move and then change place to another quite often. Elephants, they will be moving about. Many of the ungulate species, those are day active most. They would be actually moving about because of they're still benefiting the moisture from the grasses. Seeing those little buffaloes we saw there, they're also going to be moving about. We know they were actually lions was behind them. So everybody, I'm going to stay put here, and then let's go across to Chris.
it's often when you are fixated on the larger animals, you tend to miss some of the smaller things. And we are still trailing this herd of buffalo, but we had to just take the time to just observe this kingfisher. Just perched on that dry piece of branch there. Now this is a kingfisher that's not necessarily water-bound. Not all kingfishers do actually fish. We have some that are terrestrial that will focus on insects and lizards and so forth, and this one is no different. And let's see if we can get some of the viewers to ID this for us before we continue to trail this buffalo herd. A little trivia question. While we wait for an answer, an interesting fact is that if we have any viewers from Australia, a very common bird there, the kookaburra, very close relative of king. It is in fact a type of kingfisher as well, as far as I know. Shreya, that is 100% correct. As a family of birds, it's a family that I personally like quite a bit. Now, that little blue patch you see on the wing, just an interesting fact about kingfishers, and which is not only kingfishers, but that blue coloration that you see there is not actually blue pigment. It's an effect called scattering, where the light is scattered off the feathers and all the wavelengths of light are scattered and only the blue is reflected. So if you would take that feather, if you could get hold of it obviously, and hold it in order for the light to go through it, the feather will appear brown. It only contains the brown pigment melanin. So there's no actual blue coloration there. It just appears to the eye that it's blue because of this scattering effect, more specifically referred to as Tyndall scattering, named after the scientist who first realized that. Well, we're going to be continuing and leaving this guy perched on his little outpost and continue trailing this herd of buffalo.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more. Bookings open on Sunday the 22nd of August, straight after the Sunset Safari.
Our competitors are in the room behind me right now for the birding challenge, where they have to look at pictures and identify the birds and then separately listen to bird calls and identify them. But it's not easy. This is going to be the toughest one yet. here we have the previous year's winners. You can see they're trying to see if they can remember all the answers, and look at them taking a sneak peek.
He's laughing.
He is.
So, yes, everybody, we're still sitting here. We got a beautiful bird here, bird of prey, African fish eagle. It's still a bird of prey, and they are still an eagle. So that they actually hunt different species of diet that they go for. It's mainly a fish. They would go for terrapin around here. So they will feed on pretty much they're found in the water. But there has to be around these lakes, flowing river, dams. So that's where you find them. And that's why these Egyptian geese that you see flying around about, they won't bother about the African fish eagle. But if the different eagle arrive, you would experience such a difference behaving these Egyptian geese. They would definitely react. So the fish eagle, they have a wingspan of anything from 190 above 240 centimeter. And they are a powerful bird. They were able to pick up anything that weigh 1 kg or slightly more than 1.1 kg. These are the catfish that they are in this dam here. Some fishes which are far too heavy. Those are tilapia that are in this lake here. And they're all going to be hunted by that bird. And their length of anything from 73 centimeters, just the length of the bird. Actually, a bigger bird. So this time of year they're mainly mating, usually, depending on the area where they've been found on a scene. And then of course here, around this time of year, as a mating, usually lay 2 eggs. And near the nest actually seen in a canopy of trees, but pretty much like an osprey, which is one of the eagle that specialize in fishes that we don't get to see them around here. During that migration, where there's a wet, rain, heavy wet, they do sometimes maybe you see one, but it's very rare that. Linda, you're asking how do the bird protect their eyes when they're flying. So that's all about making sure they don't fly into the thick or anything that they cannot fly through. Of course, they have their eyes open so they don't hit trees and things like that. So they do blink as well every now and then, especially when they fly in such a speed. So many times birds, they would fly into glass and they sliding doors. If it's actually a chance that they can see through, it's harder for them to actually recognize that is a glass, so that, you know, they can avoid. A lot of time they, such as the doves, many of them died fly through these glasses. So it's all about how do they blink, and of course making sure when it's flying at such a speed, especially when it's too windy, and that's where it's not safe for them to fly, because the wind may push them direction they don't want. These eagles, they're difficult for them to fly in a heavily of a wind because they can't go where they need to go, and they're always, even maybe the wind will push them backwards. Meanwhile, they want to move straight towards the wind, so they rather just wait if the wind continuously non-stop until it settles down for them to be able to move again. So everybody, since we also got this bird sitting up in that dry tree, and let's go across to Chris, who is also looking at very interesting things also up in that tree.
Well, from a fish eagle in a tree to something totally different in a tree. Not necessarily everybody's favorite, but I just had to show you this. With all the moisture in the air and the fog, one suddenly realized how many spiders are out there. You have condensation on the web, and with this low light conditions, these webs just jump out at you in terms of visibility. Now, this is a tropical tent spider. Now, it's not the typical web that one would imagine. You can almost see it creates like a little bucket, and then on top, like a slight little dome, almost the shape of a sombrero hat. So you got the side, and then just this little area that elevates where the spider usually situates. And what it would do, it would capture moisture like we see today. It could draw insects back into that little funnel area, and it just gives the spider opportunity to catch them there. But just interesting shape, the tropical tent spider. Just look at those beautiful patterns created by these drops. It's just nature's art. And you only really see this to this extent in this misty weather. Just an update, we are still trading that herd of buffalo. The Djuma Pride has gone into a very, very dense area, and there is no visual of them at the moment. However, we do know where they are in terms of the general area. So chances are very good that someone will find them or relocate them. We're going to stay with the buffalo, since it's, again, not every day that you get the opportunity to see a group of buffalo the size of the one we just saw. Look at that. Here's another little spider. Yes, absolutely. Just the perfection of the design is incredible. And it's with this mist that one can actually see the variety of spiders that's out here. And they all play their part in the ecology. And they know that spiders invoke different emotions in people and different feelings, but they're an essential part of any ecosystem globally. Just imagine a tiny little creature that nobody has taught it how to do this pattern in its webbing. It's 100% instinct. And they just do it without hesitation. It just happens. Incredible. And we'll be slowly moving on again. The buffalo herd has just moved off. They're probably about 500 meters away, and we're going to try and stick with them until we have an update as to what happened with that group of lions. As soon as we have clarity on that, we're going to be moving, hopefully, to end our drive, hopefully with that group of lions, the Talamati Pride.
So we have left the dam now. We're just gonna go see, since the mist has tried a little bit to clear a little bit of way, and then we're probably gonna return back to where we were looking for that leopard. Hopefully we get lucky there, because it wasn't actually easy for us to see through in this misty of a morning. It's still great that if it's anything about the tracks, if it's the new tracks or leopard that walk maybe 10-20 minutes or half an hour we go over on top of these wet soil here. The soil actually still holds quite a moisture from the mist itself, so we're able to also tell that the tracks that we were trekking early this morning. It will be a lot different if we ever come across that tracks that I actually have walked 20 or half an hour ago. It's going to be a lot of difference there. So I have moved away from the dam. I'm gonna head back to where I was attempting to track that leopard track there. So since the misty is a little bit of a clear up, maybe we'll get lucky. We couldn't see far enough though. And now we can able to access, look through on top of the trees. It happens sometimes they would prefer trees in such a weather, especially when the grass is moisture. They wouldn't maybe love to walking in a very wet grass. So, Victor, you're asking, so tracks or animals' calls are reliable to find predators. So, yes, especially alarm call are more reliable. And then many of the animals, they give a warning when they see a predator. That's actually a way of letting their whole other members in the area with probably same species or different species. If the danger has come to an area, so the alarm call is very reliable then. Especially this call that it's got to be continuously very strong. Then it means that prey species definitely seen something closer. So you're more likely to find what it is a lot of time. The tracks come as a second net, because that is how now the tracks, you determine the tracks, how older they are, and then itself by looking at it, that's how we're able to tell whether they're fresh or not. So only when it's fresh, but tracks being so fresh, it also means that it could happen that leopard was not actually stopping, was continuously moving. This is one that don't leave the roads most of the time. They always stick on the roads. And then you know that animals was not stopping at all. And it's actually perhaps on a mission. So you're more likely not to find it close by, perhaps. That's where you would need other guides to assist you to check further away where you are heading. So these are the two keys. So drive, also listen to the audio. You may miss the tracks, perhaps also you may miss the animal by driving. But if you would take yourself a time, listen to the audio, listen to the birds, because also the birds, they can indicate if there is a danger in the area, any predators in the area. But they can warn for such an owls and the eagles. So you gotta know all of that. So when they actually, birds alarm calling from right at the top of the trees, it means whatever the problem is, it's probably on the bottom. These francolins, they're ground birds. So if you ever seen them up in the trees and all they're shouting still, then you know the problem is on the ground. But if they're shouting from the ground, then you know possibly, perhaps whatever this is on trees, could be an eagles. So it's actually a few ways of tell where there's something in the area. I'm gonna listen to that sound. No, yeah, just listen to the sound. These are aromatic bubblers. that was a slender mongoose, that bird who was shouting about that. So that's actually also related to what I was trying to explain. So, James Richard, you're asking if there is ever a recent a sighting of a dog or an update on a dog. So no, the last update of the dog has been a week. Actually, they have walked, I'm not sure which packs or how many were there. So they have walked past quarantine and headed into Cheetah Plains, that area. They were seen, perhaps they head back into the Kruger Park. And then that was actually last update. There's no other update that we heard recently. So, and can't also wait to see the dogs come back to the area. But that morning we actually, saw the tracks, and when I tracked those tracks, I knew for sure could be long gone, because then we were always on the roads and they were just running across quarantine, and then they took that Twin Dam Road and they had Gary Main, and then so I'm gonna carry on and search everybody. I'm gonna be sending you across to Chris to give everybody an update.
Well, our herd of buffalo have gone through a very steep drainage line, and subsequently we were unable to stick with them. We know roughly where they are. We've decided to leave them for now. We've spent such quality time with them this morning, and what we are trying to do now is head back to the area where the Talamati Pride was last seen. I am hoping that we will get into the drainage line where they are. It sounds like they've also moved into one of these drainage lines or dry riverbeds, which is typical when it gets cooler. Now the temperature has dropped a little bit since this morning, and whereas this morning was very good weather for hunting, it now is definitely becoming a little bit more chilly, and we have a little bit of drizzle. And just like us, animals do get cold as well. So the lions ultimately decided to head into one of these drainage where there's less wind and where it is a little warmer. And if the buffalo maintain their direction, it sounds like it will be very much in that same direction. So exactly as we somehow predicted this morning, the lions used this mist in order to flank or disappear from the buffalo's view, move around and try and set up a potential hunt for this afternoon or evening. Again, it's not something we can 100% predict. We're just working on feeling and knowledge of our behavior of this particular species. But as you know, nature is not always something you can predict, and it will often pan out totally different than what you expect. So we are just bumbling along. So good morning, leopard lover. In my spare time, I do spend a lot of time with my own family, my wife and kids, when I'm not working. Often we'll do activities with my extended family, my parents and so forth. Now, we live in close proximity to each other, so we're all outdoorsmen, so it's always either we'll go on a hike, but more specifically, my wife and I are very keen horsemen. We are very accomplished riders, and we love horses, and we have our own horses at home. So that is something that I like to do often in my spare time. That is now if I'm not actually on safari. Often whilst on safari, I would, and if you're not actively guiding at one particular day or I would just go out and track animals. That is one of my favorite things to do. You know, tracks is essentially the newspaper of the bush. It teaches you how to learn about animals' behavior and interpret what the tracks are doing. So tracking animals, especially large animals, lion, leopard and so forth, it is a great deal of fun. So that is what I do in my spare time. It's not the only things I do. I read a lot, I study a lot, but yeah, so it's family time, horse riding, tracking, big game, in that order. Talking about family, we can locate this family or pride of lions. That would be such a great ending to yet another incredible day.
The best part about being a guide is being able to live out in Africa's wild places and being able to share that with people. Of all the challenges, for me, the one that I'm probably the most comfortable with is the game drive. I think that's what I do most days, so that would probably be what I feel like I'd do the best at.
Almost like someone's put little Lego blocks up there and made this perfect little sort of statue, and there's another one further along as we drive.
One of the challenges I'm the most nervous about would probably be shooting. I think on the day there's always quite a bit of pressure and intimidation, always associated with it, but I guess we'll see how it goes. I hope I'll win this competition, but if I don't, it's still been an experience of a lifetime, and I've learned a lot and met a lot of really, really cool people.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, two to go.
So we found ourselves the giraffe, and now it's actually spitting a little bit. This is not all a mist anymore, so it's pretty much of a little bit of a drizzling here. So maybe this is what it's going to be the whole entire day. We'll find out during the course of the day. Nevertheless, we got a giraffe that they are foraging through this woodland here. I've seen already 3 of them, a chain of giraffe. And this is what they would prefer so much, being into drainage line, They follow the species of plants that they prefer to feed on. And they are browser. That's why wherever they fit in, it's got to be quite a lot of tall trees, and that they will spend time browsing in those. When we look, there's not much about green in a tree, but they're still feeding on whatever they could. So pretty much the tip end of these foliage branches. There we go, the wind is coming up. You can hear it from the distances. All of the the drive that we had, beginning of the drive. And all of a sudden it's going to be the wind taking place. It's going to be very interesting. We'll see how it's going to work out. But ourselves, we still actually deep down into this slopey area, so we're not actually in a higher land anymore. So okay, you're asking with the animals are less active because of the mist. That could affect those that don't actually want to move into kind of weather, but most prey species, such as an impalas, they don't have a choice. They gotta eat because they're actually die active pretty much. But also many of the other species as well of the prey species, they're more likely to move about. But the mist that we begin a drive with this morning, many of the animals, they wouldn't actually forage far into the bush because they don't get to see very well. That it was nothing to do now with the pitch darkness that has always occurred during the night. And this was also kind of like a ashy colors, which then kind of blindness, they cannot see well. So they would rather wait until it's like right now that we can also see around here. So that could actually affect, due to the wind that is about to take place, then it will even affect more on the prey species to actually get to be mobile about. But the predators, they will love it, hunting in a colder, windy situation where they're then gaining kind of access through to getting close to the prey species. And all their hunt succeed. But with the giraffe, since they have advantage of being so tall, they can see far enough, but not while it's misty. I know the young female there, the oxpecker already have got them. This bird that they slept separate away from the animals at night, and in the morning they would locate the animal by searching for the animal. And they probably slept not far from where this giraffe were. So everybody, while we are taking a look at this giraffe, let's have a look at the upcoming expedition in the Mara.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more. Bookings open on Sunday the 22nd of August, straight after the Sunset Safari.
Everybody, so how's that, Mara? So remember everybody again, so the booking time, it would be this afternoon after the sunset. So 6:30, it will be great, just after the sunset there. So 6:30, that is actually an African Central Time for everybody. It will be very nice of those of you would you find yourself into that area there, if you can do that booking, and you will truly enjoy that scenery out there. So we now still have this giraffe, and they're still kind of like walnuts spread around. That's what they do. They cannot feed together, and they have to separate, so each one would gain access to many of the tree species around there. We're uphill, I can promise you, it's blowing too much wind. And then for that, they're going to have to make sure they stay around here where it's slightly not warmer. Perhaps the wind is penetrating less than in uphill. Now all of the elephants that we've seen for the past 2 days, all herds came down. You know, they're perhaps wherever they are, just taking it easy. And then they're also enjoying the weather like this. And this grass is quite as soft. And they'll concentrate on eating grass wherever they are. If then it gets very extremely colder weather, they may not be able to be immobile quite a lot, many of the species. They still get colder as we do, is that they have actually a layer of a skin, hairy of a skin, that actually provide slightly warmer. I've seen impalas a lot of time when it's kind of very cold. What they do with the skin, it's amazing that they can control the skin, come fluffy, and they provide warmth on themselves. So remember, giraffe is part of the ruminant animals. So and they still chew cud, which is so cool. So since this giraffe, they would prefer to be around here, they may maybe move along the drainage line systems. And then for that, not everywhere the food is so tasty for them. The trees sometimes they have some communication through chemical, it's called tannin. And that tannin sometimes can be pretty bad to the animals if they eat trees with that chemical. And then once animals notice those trees in the area, animal will no longer feeding those trees. But that tannin, it's amazing how it works. It will transfer from one tree to another. And then, of course, all of a sudden, as animal, they have to move immediately out of the area, go into somewhere else where without a tannin. So this has actually occurred during that the trees only realize that they've actually been fed quite a lot by many of the species without giving that area a break a little bit. And that's actually important how the wild could play its role so special in a natural way. So during that tannin take place, it's only the time that if that happened during the summer, the regrowth, it's continuously in that area while these tannin still in progress. So it means that the next time animal comes in an area, the regrow, it's actually great again and it's beautiful, animals free to eat again. Got a still giraffe there standing right close to us. I mean, this female giraffe, she's been really brave female. The rest of them have moved into the deep where we cannot see them. But if she also do the same, then she will vanish into the bush. Now, talking about all the ungulates. Most of the ungulates, many of them are ruminate. Some of them are frigate fermentants, which they only eat quite a lot without chewing cud, which they have a single pocket. Some they would have three pockets of a stomach, such as the hippos. But many of the antelope, they would have four, which is then those are a ruminate stomach. Sorry, I missed that question from Nazarene. Feed. Nazarene, so I get your question clearly. So you're asking what are the giraffe more likely to feed on when it's in the winter season? So it's quite a lot of variety of tree species, but then they would prefer still feed on acacia and grasses, which are knobthorns, and of course some of the toxic trees around here, which is tambotis. Even there's not much of green, they still take tip end of these little foliage branches, which then still gain moisture, since these trees only shed their leaves, but they don't dry off during this winter. In that case, that's why they go quite a lot around in search for these trees. drainage line system, very much like where they are at the moment. I know they're gonna somehow come up hill and look for a different species of trees, such as a Comritum species, but they would prefer thorny bushes, pretty much. Giraffe that went static, now they have moved off. So I'm gonna continue, look around, see if maybe we'll get lucky. Jacqueline, you asking what are the giraffe population in South Africa? So I'm not sure how many giraffe, but they actually balance, and then very much sustainable. Oh, Chris! How are you, Chris? Right, so yeah, I mean, some countries, the giraffe, they were kind of like instinct due to the, due to some need, special need they would actually need from giraffe. I'm not sure what they would actually kill them for. Oh, we still got another one right on the right. But it actually balanced in a reserve. This was actually a while ago that they actually came in instinct in pretty much part of the Africas, perhaps with the skin needed there, but then they're actually sustainable. We've seen a number of Jenny or Tau giraffe. In some area they can gather up to about maybe over 20 sometimes in one place, so they actually sustained throughout Africa. And the only reason is that they're actually non-seasonal breather. They breathe throughout the year most. You go. So in that process of chewing cud, I was about to explain the number of the tummy or the pocket of the stomach, which is all the ruminate stomach and the reticulum, omasum, or abomasum. So these are the stomach that animals such as an antelope, giraffe also will have. Cows, sheep, goat would have those that chew cud. They have to have those stomachs in order for them to survive. It's the only way they actually designed. They eat quite a lot, and they need a lot of hours to actually work on chewing cud. Some they would be able to exercise this chewing cud by standing up, and some they would exercise this chewing cud when they're lying down. But with the giraffe, it's always so important when they're actually lying down. Yeah, off she goes. So everybody, looks like they're all just going to be vanishing, but we still got a few of the visual of them as they move through.
Every year in August, South Africa marks Women's Month. WildEarth would like to acknowledge and thank all the amazing females who have worked tirelessly to share our nature with the world.
We're gonna have to just wait, okay? She's gonna come out there just on my right-hand side, and she can see these impala.
Now you've got to inhale it. It burns! I don't know if it's supposed to work instantly. Go, girl, go! Get her! Get her, girl, get her! I'm so looking forward to following her story in the future.
I'm really hoping there's two. I'm really hoping there's two. But you know, even if there's one, oh my goodness, everyone.
And I get to share it with you. Isn't that extra special? I get to experience it and show it to everyone.
Guiding as an industry has become, over time more and more professional and more recognized as a profession rather than just a hobby. And so to be recognized for that professionality is really kind of it's humbling, really, to be able to say that. It's definitely birding is the thing that I feel most comfortable with in terms of categories that we have here. At least comfortable. I mean, you never know how you're going to shoot on a particular day. You can have a good day where you blast everything as you need to, in terms of the targets, and then you can have a shocker where you just, miss a single shot here or there, and that's basically the end of your day. To be considered for such an experience is really a powerful thing, and so I'm here just to have a lot of fun and experience what the competition's all about.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth. Day.
No day would be perfect without taking you to one of our favorite characters. And she needs no introduction. Obviously, we don't know. Our apologies, just a little technical glitch there. The weather is not in our favor. However, we are back live and you are with us in the Sabi sands, and we are just observing Batilda, as he or she is known. And just to mention again, this is my introduction and to this bird, and the first time I've met it. I've heard and seen a lot about this Batelia while watching WildEarth TV myself, and it's a pleasure to meet this very well known and loved character. Yeah, trying to balance, I just can't seem to get the right footing, and it's just amazing how it's trying to, like bob and weave, and we're just gonna just watch it. Lovely. Well, we don't have any visual on any of the parents. It was here just now. It did flew off. And just a perfect ending to a phenomenal day. She is calling out to the parents, and we'll just sit here for the last indeed, Pauline, indeed. It's one of my favorite birds of prey. Well, it's actually an eagle, and it's actually part of the snake eagle family, which is another firm favorite of mine in terms of a group of birds. Yet another successful morning comes to an end, and thank you for joining me on this adventure this morning, and join us this afternoon again here at Djuma in the Sabi sand.